Hello everyone, and welcome back to our continuing conversation of Homer's The Odyssey, specifically the Robert Fagel's translation of the book. And in this particular video, I'm going to focus on Book 5, the book where we finally get to meet Odysseus. Of course, we've seen him in action alongside Diomedes in the Iliad, but this is our first glimpse of him here in this book about him. All right, so it happens all the way now in Book 5. Book 5's title, Odysseus, Nymph, and Shipwreck. We will see the gods having a conversation about Odysseus and about Odysseus's release from captivity. He is being held captive on an island by Calypso, who is a nymph, and she is holding him there against his will, but she is madly in love with him and wants him to become immortal with her, to live out their days together, and he really just wants to return home. We will see that they will force her, the gods will force Calypso to release him. He will build his own ship, and ship is being very generous there, and set sail. Poseidon will see that he has been freed, and Poseidon will have a few things to say about that. And we see some other celestial beings, some other goddesses coming to his aid and helping him find his way to safety. All right, so let's jump on in here. Book 5, and I'm going to start from the very beginning. I'm going to read probably that first full couple of pages there and give you some commentary on it. It says, as Dawn rose up from bed by her lovely lordly mate Tithonus, bringing light to the immortal gods and mortal men, the gods sat down in council circling Zeus, the thunder king whose powers rule the world. All right, so we see that name Tithonus right there. And I thought this was interesting to bring this up because of our readings of the Iliad. This is, Tithonus is the husband of the Dawn, obviously. And he is the elder brother, though, of Priam, who was the king of Troy, who was Hector and Paris's father. Okay, I thought that was an interesting bit of information to add there, given what we have already studied so far. Athena began recalling Odysseus to their thoughts. The goddess, deeply moved by the man's long ordeal, held captive still in the nymph Calypso's house. Father Zeus, you other happy gods who never die, never let any sceptered king be kind and gentle now, not with all his heart, or set his mind on justice. No, let him be cruel and always practice outrage. Think, not one of the people whom he ruled remembers Odysseus now, that godlike man and kindly as father to his children. Basically, so much time has passed that people no longer, people who are there around Ithaca, barely remember Odysseus and how kind he was to them. The top of page 153. Now, he's left to pine on an island racked with grief in the nymph Calypso's house. She holds him there by force. He has no way to voyage home to his own native land. No trim ships in reach, no crew to ply the oars and send him scuttling over the sea's broad back. And now, his dear son. They plot to kill the boy on his way back home. Yes, he has sailed off for news of his father to holy Pylos first, and then out to the sunny hills of Lacedaemon. All right. My child, Zeus, who marshals the thunder, has replied, what nonsense you let slip through your teeth. Come now, wasn't the plan your own? You conceived it yourself. Odysseus shall return and pay the suitors back. Telemachus? Sail him home with all your skill. The power is yours, no doubt. Home to his native country, all unharmed, while the suitors limp to port, defended, baffled men. All right? So essentially, this was your plan, that he would take these suitors on. Okay? How could he have the suitors had he not been gone for as long as he's been gone? It's kind of, you've kind of set this up yourself, Athena, is what Zeus is saying. With those words, Zeus turned to his own son Hermes. You are the messenger, Hermes. Send sent on all our missions. Announce to the nymph. Okay, so this is very important. Announce to the nymph with lovely braids our fixed decree. Odysseus journeys home. All right, the exile must return, but not in the convoy of the gods or mortal men. No, on a lashed makeshift raft and wrung with pains. On the 20th day he will make his landfall, fertile Scheria, the land of the Phaeacians, close kin to the gods themselves, who with all their hearts will prize him like a god and send him off in a ship to his own beloved land, giving him bronze and hoards of gold and robes, more plunder than he could ever have won from Troy if Odysseus had returned intact with his fair share. So his destiny ordains. He shall see his loved ones, reach his high-roofed house, his native land at last. Set him free, but he is going not to make it home on his own. He's going to have to build his own kind of crappy raft, and he's going to then go and meet the Phaeacians. They then will take him in, and they will treat him so well, and they will give him a ship and make sure that he gets home. And he will get home with all the gifts that they have given him, and he will actually be better off, financially speaking, when he arrives than he would have had he just gone and made his way home from Troy. All right. So Hermes goes to deliver the message. We see on page 155, he briskly entered the deep-walled cavern where Calypso is. Calypso, lustrous goddess, knew him at once, as soon as she saw his features face to face. Immortals are never strangers to each other. They all know each other, no matter how distant one may make her home. But as for great Odysseus, Hermes could not find him within the cave. So off he sat on a headland, weeping there as always, wrenching his heart with sobs and groans and anguish, gazing out over the barren sea through blinding tears. So at first, Hermes did not see Odysseus hanging out with Calypso in her cave, because he was out, as he is every day, out looking over the waters, crying himself nearly to dehydration because he is so upset and wants to return home, looking out over the sea as if I could only just get out there, if I could only sail myself home, I could be happy with my wife and son and my home. Moving down to about line, let's say 108. Well, hang on for a second. Calypso gives him some food, treats him well. All right. Then after that, he says, as one god to another, you ask me why I've come. I'll tell you the whole story. Mince no words. Your wish is my command. It was Zeus who made me come, no choice of mine. Who would willingly roam across the salty sea so vast and so endless? All right. I was made to come here. I wouldn't necessarily volunteer to go through all this trouble to get to your far-flung island. Think, no city of men in sight, and not a soul to offer the gods a sacrifice and burn the fattest victim. But there is no way, you know, for another god to thwart the will of storming Zeus and make it come to nothing. Zeus claims you keep beside you a most unlucky man, most harried of all who fought for Priam's Troy, 9 years, in sacking the city in the 10th, and then set sail for home. But voyaging back, they outraged Queen Athena. All right, top of 156. Who loosed the gales and pounding sea against them. There, all the rest of his loyal shipmates died, but the wind drove him on. The current bore him here. Now Zeus commands you to send him off with good speed. It is not his fate to die here, far from his own people. Destiny still ordains that he shall see his loved ones and reach his high-roofed house, his native land at last. All right, so we know that he's going to, come what may, he will find his way home. He will return to Ithaca, all right? Calypso, though, and I got to hand it to her, she's got a few words to say because she sees the BS in what she is being asked to do. She sees that the patriarchy is something that has a double standard, all right? I find this very interesting. This begins in the next little section there on page 156. But lustrous Calypso shuddered at those words and burst into a flight of indignation. Hard-hearted you are, you gods, you unrivaled lords of jealousy, scandalized when a goddess sleeps with mortals only, and even when one has made the man her husband. So when Dawn, with her rose-red fingers, took Orion, you gods in your everlasting ease were horrified till chaste Artemis, throned in gold, attacked him out on Delos, shot him to death with gentle shafts. What an ironic way. Gentle shafts. Shot him to death with gentle shafts. Anyway. And so when Demeter, the graceful one with lovely braids, gave way to her passion and made love with Iasion, bedded down in a furrow plowed 3 times, Zeus got wind of it soon enough, I'd say, and blasted the man to death with flashing bolts. So now at last, you gods, you train your spite on me for keeping a mortal man beside me, the man I saved, riding astride astride his keelboard all alone, when Zeus, with one hurl of a white-hot bolt, had crushed his racing warships down the wine-dark sea? So hold on a second. Zeus sleeps with everybody. We know that gods take mortals and marries them, or rapes them, has sex with them. There are so many, folks who are half god, half human. And how do you think that happens? But here I am, a female, and I'm keeping this mortal man. And oh, you're clutching your pearls over that while you male gods do whatever the heck you want to do? This is absurd, and I think it's total BS. And I think she's got a point. I don't think anybody should be doing these things against anybody's will. Let's make that abundantly clear. But the idea is, you gods, you can do anything you want to. But you order us goddesses around to do what you think is right, and it's not fair. It's a double standard. Page 157. Let's say line 165. The queenly nymph sought out great Odysseus. All right, because she gives in. She says, all right, fine, but there's nothing I can really do about it. So she sought out the great Odysseus, the commands of Zeus still ringing in her ears, and found him there on the headland sitting, still, weeping his eyes never dry, his sweet life flowing away with the tears he wept for his foiled journey home. Since the nymph no longer pleased. In the nights, true, he'd sleep with her in the arching cave. He had no choice. Unwilling lover alongside a lover all too willing. But all his days he'd sit on the rocks and beaches, wrenching his heart with sobs and groans and anguish, gazing out over the barren sea through blinding tears. All right. So Calypso offers a warning. Okay, Calypso, we have the idea that he's going to be set free. He's going to have to build his own ship. She's going to give him what he needs to build his own ship. All right. She tells him that you're free to go or whatever, but she offers him a warning. All right, and I want to read this warning to you. It's about the last, let's say about 6 lines, the last 6 lines or so of page 158. It says, "So then, royal son of Laertes, Odysseus, man of exploits, still eager to leave at once and hurry back to your own home, your beloved native land. Good luck to you. Even so, farewell. But if you only knew deep down what pains are fated to fill your cup before you reach that shore, you'd stay right here. Preside in our house with me and be immortal. Much as you long to see your wife, the one you pine for all your days, and yet I just might claim to be nothing less than she, neither in face nor figure. Hardly right is it for mortal woman to rival immortal goddesses. How? In build and beauty?" Basically saying, you want to leave, and you'll get to leave, but man, if you knew all the pains in the butt that you're going to have to endure while you're out there, you would just as soon stay here. Trust me, it's going to be hell. You're going to have to go to hell and back to be able to get back home. And look at me. I'm not too tough to look at, am I? And how can Penelope be so beautiful as to rival, literally, a goddess? His response, "Ah, great goddess," worldly Odysseus answered, "Don't be angry with me, please. All that you say is true, how well I know. Look at my wise Penelope. She falls far short of you, your beauty, stature. She is mortal after all, and you never age or die. Nevertheless, I pine all my days to travel home and see the dawn of my return. And if a god will wreck me yet again on the wine-dark sea, I cannot bear that too with a spirit tempered to endure. Much have I suffered, labored long and hard by now, in the waves and wars. Add this to the total, bring the trial on." Even as he spoke, the sun set and the darkness swept the earth, and now, withdrawing into the cavern's deep recesses, long in each other's arms, they lost themselves in love. One for the road, I guess. All right. Anyway, so you see that no matter what Calypso can offer him, he still wants to be home. He still wants to be with his wife. He builds his craft as best he can. She helps him out somewhat, but really the craftsmanship and all this is he fashions from what Calypso's island has to offer. As he's on the sea, you can see Poseidon notices that this happens. Page 161, about line, let's say 315. "Outrageous," he says. "Look how the gods have changed their minds about Odysseus while I was off with my Ethiopians. Just look at him there, nearing Phaeacia's shores, where he's fated to escape the noose of pain that's held him until now. Still, my hopes ride high. I'll give him that, his swamping fill of trouble. I'll give that man his swamping fill of trouble." With that, he rammed the clouds together, both hands clutching his trident, churned the waves into chaos, whipping all the gales from every quarter, shrouding over in thunderclouds the earth and sea at once. And night swept down from the sky. East and south winds clashed, and the raging raging west and north sprung from the heavens, roiled, heaving breakers up, and Odysseus's knees quaked, his spirit too. Numb with fear, he spoke to his own great heart, "Wretched man, what becomes of me now at last? I fear the nymph foretold it all too well. She was on to something. I was going to have to go through a bunch of crap. On the high sea, she said, before I can reach my native land, I'll fill my cup of pain. And now look, it all comes to pass." The top of page 162. Four times blessed my friend in arms who died on the plains of Troy those years ago, serving the sons of Atreus to the end. Would to God I died there too and met my fate that day. The Trojans, swarms of them, hurled at me with bronze spears, fighting over the corpse of proud Achilles. A hero's funeral then. My glory spread by comrades, now what a wretched death I'm doomed to die. More glory would have been for me to have fallen in battle at the hands of the Trojans than to die here on a raft, washed up on shore somewhere. That's not a hero's death. I don't want that. He goes under. He's taken under the water. We see he gets some help though. The last little section there, page 162. "But someone saw him, Cadmus's daughter with lovely ankles, Ino, a mortal woman, once with human voice called Leukothia. Now she lives in the sea's salt depths, esteemed by all the gods as she deserves. She pitied Odysseus, tormented so. She broke from the waves like a shearwater on the wing, lit on the wreck, and asked him kindly, 'Ah, poor man, why is the god of earthquakes so dead set against you, strewing your way with such a crop of troubles? But he can destroy you. Oh, but he can't destroy you. Not for all his angers. Just do as I say. You seem no fool to me. Strip off your clothes and leave your craft for the winds to hurl. And swim for it now. You must. Strike out with your arms for landfall there. Phaeacian land where destined safety waits. Destined safety waits. Here, take this scarf. Tie it around your waist. It is immortal. This scarf is immortal. Tie it around your waist. Nothing to fear now, neither pain nor death. But once you grasp the mainland with your hands, untie it quickly. Throw it to the wine-dark sea, far from the shore. But you turn your head away. With that, the goddess handed him a scarf and slipped back in the heavy breaking seas like a shearwater once again, and the dark heaving billow closed above her. But battle-weary Odysseus weighed 2 courses, deeply torn. This is him. Things going on in his mind, even while he's being tossed in the sea, even while somebody's giving him an immortal scarf. All this stuff is going on. His mind is still churning. It says, probing his fighting spirit. Oh no, I fear another immortal weaves a snare to trap me, urging me to abandon ship. I won't. Not yet. That shore is too far away. I glimpsed it myself, where she says refuge waits. No, here's what I'll do. It's what seems best to me. As long as the timbers cling and joints stand fast, I'll hold out aboard her and take a whipping. Once the breakers smash my craft to pieces, then I'll swim. No better plan for now. But just as great Odysseus thrashed things out, Poseidon, god of the earthquakes, launched a colossal wave, terrible, murderous, arching over him, pounding down on him, hard as a windstorm, blasting piles of dry parched chaff, scattering flying husks. So the long planks of his boat were scattered far and wide, but Odysseus left aboard one timber, and riding it like a plunging racehorse, stripped away his clothes, divine Calypso's gifts, and quickly tying the scarf around his waist, he dove headfirst in the sea, stretched his arms, and stroked for life itself. But again, the mighty god of earthquakes spied him, shook his head, and grumbled deep in his spirit, Go. Go, after all you've suffered. Rove your miles of sea till you fall in the arms of people loved by Zeus. Even so, I can hardly think you'll find your punishment too light. Skipping that little section. But Zeus's daughter Athena countered him at once. The rest of the winds she stopped right in their tracks. Athena to the rescue, as always it seems. Commending them, the winds, all to hush now, go to sleep. All but the boisterous north, she whipped him up, and the goddess beat the breakers flat before Odysseus. I love this epic simile in this bottom of the page, 164. Say about line 434 it starts. It says, Odysseus, scanning sharply, raised high by a groundswell, looked up and saw it. Landfall. Just ahead. He's going to make landfall. He can see the land he needs to get to. So, joy. Warm is the joy that children feel when they see their father's life dawn again. One who's lain on a sick bed racked with torment, wasting away slowly under some angry power's onslaught. Then what joy when the gods deliver him from his great pains. So warm Odysseus' joy when he saw that shore, those trees as he swam on, anxious to plant his feet on solid ground again. That's how exhausted he was, and how thrilled he was to see that there is land where he can finally get some rest. All right, he offers up a prayer on line 490 on page 166. Hear me, Lord, whoever you are, I've come to you, the answer to all my prayers. Rescue me from the sea Lord's curse. Even immortal gods will show a man respect, whatever wanderer seeks their help. Like me, I throw myself on your mercy, on your current now. I have suffered greatly. Pity me, Lord. Your suppliant cries for help. So the man prayed, and the god stemmed his current, held his surge at once, and smoothing out the swells before Odysseus now, making it finally easier for him. At the bottom 3 lines, struggling up from the banks, he flung himself into the deep reeds. He kissed the good green earth and addressed his fighting spirit, desperate still. Okay, his mind's still working, racing, figuring out what's the best thing to do. Man of misery, what's next? Is this the end? If I wait out a long, tense night on the banks, I fear the sharp frost and the soaking dew together will do me in. I'm bone weary, about to breathe my last, and a cold wind blows from a river on toward morning. But what if I climb that slope and go for the dark woods and bed down in the thick brush? What if I'm spared the chill, fatigue, and sweet sleep comes on my way? I fear wild beasts will drag me off as quarry. I still got things to worry about. Even though finally, my God, I'm on dry land, there's still the cold to deal with. There's wild beasts to deal with. I don't know. At the bottom, we see the simile. About line 538, long enduring great Odysseus, overjoyed at the sight, bedded down in the midst and heaped the leaves around him, as a man will bury his glowing brand in black ashes off a lonely farmstead, no neighbors near to keep a spark alive, no need to kindle a fire from somewhere else. So great Odysseus buried himself in leaves, and Athena showered sleep upon his eyes, sleep in a swift wave, delivering him from all his pains and labors, blessed sleep that sealed his eyes at last. So a glimpse of what's been keeping Odysseus, a glimpse into his racing mind even when he's under duress. We see the gods working for him and the gods working against him, specifically a god working against him. I guess Calypso was working against him too as far as his return, but not necessarily in the angry way that Poseidon was, but in a jealous, lustful way all her own. Anyway, that's book 5, all right? In the meantime, I'd like for you to read book 6, annotate book 6, have some original thoughts about book 6, and then meet me back here and I will give you some thoughts of my own on book 6. So, until then, and as always, I wish you happy reading.